ESPN Radio and, of course, ESPN's Highly Questionable. He joins us on the Subway Fresh Take Hotline. Good morning, Dan.
Good morning, guys.
Let's start before we get to the Heat's future with just your perspective on what we saw. And anyone who listens to you and listens to your show knows how much you care about the Heat. But I have to believe even you were incredibly impressed with the brand of basketball the Spurs played the last 12 quarters of these finals. What did you see out there?
Yeah, it's beautiful basketball, and it's a beautiful organization. And the Spurs, all the advanced metrics said that the Spurs were a little bit better this year than they were last year. And all the advanced metrics said that the Miami Heat were a little bit worse than they were last year. And we saw what happened when these teams were close to each other last year. They weren't close to each other this year. And one of the things that you've seen change with the Spurs that you have not seen change with the Heat is the guy holding up the Finals MVP trophy. They had a young guy around their big three that was really, really good. And while he didn't play LeBron to a stalemate, it was close enough. And so they developed someone young around their old core. The Miami Heat did not do that, and you saw the avalanche that fell on their head in the series.
So does that mean you expect change out of Miami Heat then?
Well, there'll definitely be change. I just don't know what the change will be. I don't think any of us do. I know we'll all be speculating on it. But LeBron's got absolutely all of the leverage. He's got the ability to go in there and say, hey, Mickey Harrison, I'll take a little less money. But what I want is I want you to hit the repeater tax to get us help. I want help. I want to be a part of roster construction. He's got all of the leverage here to go in there. The things that he wants are not going to have to do with money. They're going to have to do with power. And one of the things that I think is interesting here is that Miami has the best chance of him because of 4 years of relationship building and because he's going to work with the other guys and seeing how that works. Now, if Dwayne Wade or Chris Bosh want to opt in because they want to cash in, then, of course, they nuke the whole thing. But LeBron's got an extraordinary amount of leverage here.
Mike, when you say opt in, the players, to my understanding, Dan, can do one of three things. They can do nothing, which means that, or I guess that is opting in, right? They just stay right where they are. They can opt out and try to re-sign at a different salary level, be it higher or lower, based upon themselves, or they can opt out and look elsewhere. So do you think there's any conceivable chance that, starting with Dwayne Wade, that he opts out and looks elsewhere?
Well, no, here's the thing.
Yeah.
Dwayne Wade has 2 years remaining on his contract,
right,
a total of $40 million. You saw the last two games of this series. He was 7 of 25. He looks shot. He looks spent, and his game does not age well because it's a kamikaze sort of game. So it's totally within his rights. Obviously, this will be an interesting question to answer. Within his rights to simply opt in, but he sabotages the whole thing if he does that. And I wonder how much of the goodwill that he has built over the years in Miami gets burned if he's the reason that LeBron doesn't stay. Like that's. You'll know soon enough. If they all opt out, you know they're working together to try to make something happen. If one of them opts in, if Wade or Bosh opt in, you know that they're not working in concert anymore.
That's interesting. Mike&Mike, Dan LeBatard, this is good. So let me ask you this. You're much closer to it on a day-to-day basis than we are. What is your perception of the relationship amongst those three guys?
Oh, it's a great relationship. I mean, they don't, when they say that they're brothers, they fight like brothers. They get along like brothers. See, one of the things that I think gets lost here because they've only had the grand success 2 of 4 years is that all of them got together just to have this opportunity, victory or failure. It's what they wanted. It's what Dwayne didn't have since 2006. LeBron, the last time he was in the finals without these guys, got scorched by these Spurs even worse than this. Chris Bosh never played this deep into the playoffs. So for them, this has been a success to merely get to the finals, have an opportunity, and live with their chances and the opportunity that they got in the finals. So this has been an extraordinary success, even though I know from this vantage point today, getting their heads handed to them, losing worse in one series than they have at any time in the last 4 years sort of tends to alter emotional perspective. This is what they got together for, to have these shots in the playoffs.
And if they feel the need to stay together, can you look at the fact that a couple of years ago Duncan made $21 million and now he's basically taken half of that to help out? So if we pat him on the back for that, can you be critical of players that could be in position to do that and don't? Because these three could be in position to do something like that.
Well, we we always do that, right? We understand that any of us would go toward an opportunity with more money in most circumstances. The Spurs have built a model organization. They've shown you how to do that. All of those guys are playing at discounts, but all of Miami's guys are playing at discounts too. And you saw what happened. Carmelo went and made sure to get his and sabotaged everything with the Knicks, because what's playing at the top of the food chain now is stars who are willing to take discounts to be together. But here's what I'm telling you. LeBron, I believe LeBron will take less money to stay in Miami again, but it's not to save Mickey Arison money. That's not why he's going to do it. Mickey Arison's probably going to have to get the repeater tax and get him more help, get him more players, more of the kinds of players that he wants. LeBron won't be giving money to the owner. He'll be giving money to other players. He's already done that for the last 4 years.
Mike and Mike, Dan LeBatard is with us, ESPN Radio, presented by Progressive Insurance. LeBron and Wade and Bosh, the three of them doing their thing. The one guy who I could see maybe just wanting to leave based upon nothing else would be Bosh, because when I watch him play, sometimes I feel sad watching him. He looks like it's so difficult for him to figure out exactly what his role is, and for them to figure out what his role is. When it goes badly, he gets all of the blame. When it goes well, he gets none of the credit. What is your sense of Bosh and his overall level of happiness?
He has made the biggest of sacrifices among the guys on this team in terms of game, but he's also the guy who's happiest in Miami and happiest with the lifestyle in Miami. He's told me flatly that he would take a discount to come back to Miami if that's what it takes. He said it publicly. He wasn't even concealing it. He said he wants to be here. That's been frustrating. Keep in mind, they won Game 7 last year with Chris Bosh giving them 0 points in Game 7. So I don't know how this is going to work. One of the interesting pieces of intrigue here is, what if LeBron comes back and says, "Hey, I'll come back, but I don't want Bosh. I don't know that this can happen at all, but let's just say hypothetically that he would do that. Then all of a sudden Bosh says, well, hell no, I'm going to opt in. And if Bosh works with them by opting out, they can't really then trade him if he comes back. You understand what I'm saying? So this is all, like, all of these guys, whatever the next step is, all of them have to work in concert on it.
And then the final thought on it all, of course, is the name Carmelo Anthony got thrown into it last week with this maybe pie-in-the-sky notion, but maybe not, that Carmelo Anthony would wind up in Miami and turn the Big Three into a Big Four. And we played the sound from you on your show, Dan, saying that you thought there was a 1% chance of it, but that at the equivalent point 4 years ago, everyone thought there was a 1% chance they'd pull off what they got then. So how would you handicap the realistic possibility that Anthony winds up in Miami with all these guys, or I guess even without the other guys?
Well, this is not my opinion. This is coming from the Heat organization. That's what they said. That's the number they put on it. They called it a very, very long shot, and they said 1% chance, and they said that they thought the same thing about 4 years ago when LeBron was faced with this decision. I will tell you that one of the things that you've heard throughout these playoffs in LeBron shrugging his shoulders and saying, guys, come on, it's just basketball. I understand there are a lot of stakes, and I understand that everybody cares about this a great deal, but all of this is just basketball. It matters to LeBron to be playing with his friends. He wants to be doing this with his friends, with his brothers, and so that's where Carmelo gets thrown into play. I don't know. That's a lot of money to ask Carmelo to leave behind, and furthermore, Carmelo would be doing it and would be viewed as weak doing it by coming to Miami, which is, that one's a different conversation because it's interesting because it'd only be viewed as weak if he came to Miami. If Carmelo chose San Antonio somehow and San Antonio can make it work, people wouldn't look at it the same way. It's something about this team, Miami, the way it was put together, the flash and the hatred around it that would make it something else with Carmelo here in Miami. But LeBron wants to play with his friends. Wherever he'll be playing with his friends. He is the host of ESPN's Highly Questionable and the Dan LeBatard Show this afternoon right here on ESPN Radio. Dan LeBatard. Thank you, Dan. We'll talk again soon. Got it. Thanks a lot.
That's Dan LeBatard with us here. Mike and Mike present.